What if I told you that most people have never truly experienced love, not in the way it was meant to be, that what we often call love is nothing more than projection, possession, or performance? Genuine love is rare. It's not a fleeting emotion or a grand romantic gesture. It's a disciplined, sacrificial act of will. And if you think you understand it just because you've felt butterflies or written poetic messages to someone, you might be mistaking emotional intensity for enduring connection. Genuine love, real love, the kind that endures suffering, conflict, and even boredom, is not about how someone makes you feel. It's about what you're willing to become for their sake and how deeply you're willing to confront your own darkness in order to protect their light. Let's dismantle the illusions, because only through clarity can we begin to love honestly. You cannot love someone if you are lying to them, or to yourself. Genuine love demands truth, not convenience. It's easy to put on a mask in the early stages of a relationship, to present your most polished self, to say the right things, to be agreeable, but true love grows in the soil of honesty. That means telling the truth even when it's uncomfortable. It means confronting your own weaknesses and confessing them before they become corrosive. You cannot be loved unless you are known, and you cannot be known unless you are willing to reveal the parts of yourself that are unfinished, flawed, even broken. Genuine love is not blind, it sees and accepts the entire truth of a person. That kind of love is rare because most people are too afraid to be seen, but if you want real connection, start with courageous honesty. That is the foundation. Love without responsibility is hollow. If you love someone, you take up the burden of their well-being, not because you're forced to, but because you choose to. You step into the role of protector, supporter, and challenger, not to control, but to uplift. Responsibility in love means sacrificing your selfish impulses in the service of something greater: the relationship, the future, the growth of the other person. You don't abandon them when it gets hard. You don't check out when they're suffering. You stay, you show up, and you act, not because it's easy, but because it's right. True love demands that you voluntarily accept the weight of another soul's journey. It does not demand perfection, it demands participation. In a culture obsessed with instant gratification, we've confused chemistry with commitment. You do not find genuine love. You build it over time, through shared struggles, open wounds, and repaired trust. You build love when you resolve conflict rather than flee from it, when you listen to understand, not just to respond, when you work through resentment instead of collecting it in silence. Love is not something you fall into, it is something you rise into. It is forged like steel in the fires of challenge, hardship, and mutual effort. If you expect love to just happen to you like a miracle, you will be endlessly disappointed. But if you're willing to work for it, to bleed for it, to grow into it, then, and only then, will you taste the sacred reality of genuine connection. At its core, genuine love is sacrifice, not martyrdom. Not self-destruction, but the deep, profound willingness to suffer for the good of someone else. That might mean staying up late to listen when you're exhausted. It might mean telling someone a painful truth to protect them from a worse future. It might mean letting go of your own ego for the sake of reconciliation. Love is tested most in adversity. Anyone can love when things are easy, but the mark of authentic love is endurance in suffering. When your partner is difficult, when your child disappoints you, when your friend betrays you, love doesn't mean you enable them. It means you stand firm, you challenge them, and you do so from a place of unwavering commitment to their highest good. If you are not willing to suffer for someone, then do not call it love, because real love hurts, but it hurts in the direction of healing. You cannot love someone if you are lying to them, or to yourself. That truth might sound harsh, but it's the cornerstone of every lasting, meaningful relationship. Most people imagine love as a warm, comforting force, and it can be. But before love can comfort, it must confront. Love demands honesty, radical, courageous honesty, not just in your words, but in how you present yourself, how you engage with the other person, and how willing you are to be known. We live in a time where authenticity is advertised but rarely practiced. Social media teaches us to curate, relationships teach us to perform, and family histories often teach us to hide. But you cannot be fully loved if you are only partially known. When you hide pieces of yourself, your fears, your failures, your doubts, you may be protecting your image, but you're sacrificing the depth of the connection. Love requires you to drop the mask even when you're trembling underneath. This honesty doesn't mean cruelty. It's not about unloading all your insecurities onto someone and calling it being real. It means being deeply responsible with your truth. It means not pretending to be who you're not just to avoid rejection. It means expressing your thoughts even when they might lead to conflict, because you value truth more than comfort and clarity more than control. Too many people enter relationships wearing masks. They suppress their needs, exaggerate their strengths, and silently hope the other person never sees the parts they've labeled unlovable. But genuine love starts when you say, "Here I am. This is who I am in my strength and in my struggle," and you allow someone to truly see you. When you do that, when you stop manipulating the narrative and start revealing your truth, you give the other person a chance to love the real you, not the image, not the projection, but the authentic human being beneath. This kind of vulnerability is terrifying, and that's why so few people ever experience deep love. They settle for affection instead of intimacy, but intimacy cannot exist without truth, and truth, by its very nature, is often disruptive. But that disruption is holy. It breaks down the illusion and replaces it with a foundation that can be trusted. If you want a love that lasts, that heals, and that strengthens both people involved, you must be willing to be seen, and to see the other without illusions. Only then can love be genuine. Love without responsibility is a fantasy, one that's often romanticized but ultimately unsustainable. We talk about love as if it's some magical, spontaneous feeling that sweeps over us, absolving us of the need to act, to commit, or to sacrifice. But genuine love is not passive. It is not simply a warm sensation or a fleeting moment of connection. It is a choice, a deeply rooted, conscious choice to take responsibility for another person's emotional, psychological, and sometimes even physical well-being, in a way that is freely chosen, never imposed. When you truly love someone, you voluntarily shoulder a portion of their life's burden. That doesn't mean you fix everything for them or that you lose yourself in the process. What it means is that you make a commitment to care, to show up, to protect, to challenge, and to support. This is not about codependence. It's about conscious, mature responsibility. It's a paradox of love. The more freely you choose to bear the weight of someone else's growth, the stronger the bond becomes. And in doing so, you become stronger yourself. Responsibility also means consistency. It's easy to be kind on good days. It's easy to express love when things are going your way. But love's depth is measured not by how it acts in pleasure, but how it behaves in pressure. Can you remain calm when they're anxious? Can you remain loyal when they're distant? Can you hold the structure of the relationship when the other person is collapsing under the weight of their own struggles? This is the test of responsibility, and by extension, the test of love. Real love does not retreat when things get hard. It leans in. It may confront. It may challenge, but it never abandons. Responsibility in love is about presence. It's the quiet commitment that says, "I'm not just here for the good days. I'm here when you're angry, broken, confused. I'm here when it's not convenient." That's what separates shallow attraction from genuine love. The willingness to invest in someone else's growth, not because you're obligated to, but because you believe they're worth the effort. In this way, love becomes less about how someone makes you feel and more about who you're willing to become for their sake. It's a transformation, not just of the other, but of yourself. Love matures you. It demands something higher from you. It calls you into deeper character, and responsibility is the path by which that transformation takes place. In a world captivated by instant gratification and quick results, we've mistakenly come to believe that love should be immediate and effortless. something we stumble upon, fall into, or magically find when we meet the right person. But that's a dangerous illusion. Genuine love is not discovered like a hidden treasure waiting to be unearthed. It is constructed slowly, deliberately, through time, struggle, and shared meaning. It doesn't come fully formed. It's built, brick by brick, moment by moment, conversation by conversation. Think about anything meaningful you've ever accomplished in your life. Did it come without effort, without friction, without failure? Of course not. Yet when it comes to love, people expect it to be different. They want it to be smooth, automatic, and frictionless. They walk away the moment conflict arises, convinced that it must not be real love. But that belief is immature and naive. Real love is not defined by the absence of conflict. It is defined by how you handle it. When two people try to build a life together, they are constantly crashing into each other's differences, past wounds, and psychological defenses. Love is tested in those collisions, and it is shaped in how both individuals respond. Do they shut down? Do they walk away? Or do they lean in, listen deeply, and do the hard inner work required to understand, not just each other, but themselves? Building love is a sacred task. It's in the moments where you forgive, even when you don't feel like it. It's in the times when you choose patience instead of anger, humility instead of pride. It's when you hold your partner's trembling soul with tenderness even when you're exhausted. These are the acts that carve love into something real, something lasting. Not the grand declarations, not the romantic trips or perfectly crafted messages, but the subtle, daily decisions to stay, to try, to build. The danger in our modern relationships is the belief that compatibility is found, not created. That's why people chase novelty instead of nurturing depth. But depth only comes when you put in the work together. You build rituals of trust. You construct a language of safety. You lay down the framework of emotional honesty. And over time, what was once just potential becomes something profound. A love that can endure the weight of life. This process isn't glamorous. It's often uncomfortable, but it's also noble, because to build love is to build meaning, and anything built with care, effort, and resilience will always outlast the fleeting rush of romantic chemistry. At the heart of genuine love lies a quiet, often invisible willingness to suffer not for suffering's sake, but for the good of another. This truth flies in the face of popular culture's shallow version of love, which is usually defined by pleasure, convenience, and mutual benefit. But authentic love demands something deeper. It is the voluntary acceptance of discomfort, pain, or sacrifice when doing so serves the growth, healing, or safety of someone you truly care about. This kind of suffering isn't dramatic or self-indulgent. It doesn't parade itself for attention. It's subtle. It shows up in the moments when you're tired and still choose to listen, really listen to your partner's struggles. It appears when you tell a hard truth, knowing it might hurt them temporarily but save them long term. It lives in the long, quiet hours of patience when someone you love is going through a storm, and all you can do is sit beside them and hold space for their pain. Love is not soft in the way most people imagine it. It is fierce, unyielding, and at times painfully sacrificial. To love someone is to tether yourself to their well-being, knowing full well that it might cost you emotionally, mentally, or even physically. You might have to let go of your ego. You might have to delay your gratification. You might have to endure rejection, misunderstanding, or silence, and you do it not because it feels good, but because the bond is worth it. This is where many relationships fall apart. People are willing to love as long as it's easy, as long as they get what they want. But when suffering enters the picture, when the other person becomes inconvenient, when life becomes heavy, when their wounds start surfacing, many run. They call it falling out of love. But what really happened is that their version of love was never strong enough to endure reality. True love embraces suffering, not masochistically, but receptively. It says, if you are hurting, I will hurt with you. If you are weak, I will be strong. And even if I don't have all the answers, I will not leave. This is not about enabling or rescuing. It's about remaining present, even when everything in you wants to escape. That is the ultimate test of love, to stay, to suffer, and to sacrifice, not out of obligation, but out of commitment to something greater than your own comfort. Genuine love is not a dream to be passively longed for, but a reality to be actively cultivated. It is not something that happens to you. It is something you participate in. In a world saturated with fantasy, projection, and emotional consumerism, real love stands out as something raw, demanding, and redemptive. It challenges you to grow up, to take responsibility not just for your feelings, but for your actions, your truth, your presence, and your impact on the other person. Love isn't about being completed by someone else. It's about walking together, both incomplete and choosing to build wholeness over time. When we begin to understand that love is rooted in truth, we stop hiding behind facades. We let go of the need to constantly appear flawless or agreeable. We start showing up as we truly are, messy, honest, vulnerable, and in doing so, we give the other person the permission to do the same. The illusion shatters, but what remains is far stronger than pretense. It is a love built on knowing and being known. It is not perfect, but it is real, and real love, unlike perfection, can survive storms. Through responsibility, love becomes a noble burden, one we carry not because it's easy, but because it's deeply meaningful. Taking on that burden voluntarily is what transforms affection into maturity, connection into covenant. The act of choosing to be present when it's difficult, choosing to sacrifice when it hurts, and choosing to forgive when you've been wounded. This is where the sacredness of love emerges. It does not simply bind two people together in emotion, it binds them together in purpose. It calls both individuals to be better, to confront themselves, and to rise above the petty self, serving desires that break most relationships apart. And yes, love is suffering, but it is not suffering in vain. It is suffering with purpose. It's the kind of pain that deepens you, that breaks your pride and softens your heart. It is a refining fire, not a consuming one. Those who embrace it emerge more whole, more human, and more capable of truly giving themselves. So, when we ask what genuine love looks like, the answer is not found in fleeting romance or grand gestures. It is found in honesty, responsibility, endurance, and sacrifice. It is not a feeling. It is a decision, repeated daily, especially when it's hardest to make. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this message. If something in this speech resonated with you, stirred your heart, or challenged your thinking, I encourage you to reflect deeply and carry that insight into your relationships. Real love is not easy, but it is worth every ounce of effort we pour into it. If you found value here, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with someone who needs to hear these words today. Your support helps spread messages that matter, and together, we can make more room for truth, growth, and authenticity in this world. Remember, love is not a destination, it's a daily journey. And every step you take in honesty, responsibility, and sacrifice moves you closer to the kind of connection your soul truly longs for. Until next time, stay courageous, stay compassionate, and above all, stay real. Thank you again for watching. Take care and goodbye.